What's up, YouTube? Just for Team Misplay here with team member Michael. We're going to be doing a deck profile on Chaos Dragons. So let's get started.
Alright, starting with the Lightsworn engine, it's basically for spot removal. Raikou for anything. Lilo's for spells and traps. Helps to set up. Lilo really helps to set up your plays. If there's just one back row, if there's two, and you happen to have an answer for the other back row in your hand, you can make sure you get one, then use your whatever your other answer is to get two. Will always be a 1-for-1 regardless, even if it gets effect failured. Should always be a 1-for-1. And Raikou obviously pops whatever, and then if they live, they get to send cards to the graveyard, so that's good too. Moving on to more of the search part of the deck. Eclipse Wyvern is for deck thinning, and then Tour Guide obviously. If you have them, you're in good shape. If you don't, you're about to get them anyways, so that's even better. But Tour Guide helps thin the deck. Pull out your Sangan, pull out your other Tour Guide. Loads up your darks pretty fast, and you can also use them for the rank 3 XCs, whichever one you need at the time. And we'll get into those in a little bit here. And then for the Chaos monsters, obviously it is Chaos Dragons. They're important. I played it with a couple of different counts on the Chaos monsters. As far as I can tell, the more you have, the better off you are. As long as you just don't get really unlucky and just open up with all of them, which that can be bad. As long as you don't open up with all of them, you're going to be in good shape. The more you have, the more you can fight back late game, especially if you get behind. Chaos Sorcerer is 1-for-1 removal. Always 1-for-1 removal. Even if it gets effect failured, it's still got a card out of the way. This is a great way to find back rows. You just summon the Chaos Sorcerer first, and then you summon Light Pulsar next, because that one you don't want that one bottomless or torrential if you don't have a good target for it. But Dark Flare obviously helps set up your grave the right way whenever you need it to, and then it's also the dark target for the Dark Arm plays and things like that. And if you don't happen to have a Red Eyes, you only have Dark Flare. Light Pulsar can still pull back a Dark Flare, so it's not the worst thing ever. Moving on, the boss monsters in the deck. He is also a Chaos monster. It gives me 9 total, but he's a boss monster in every essence of it. He's just that good. Dark Arm tends to, if you get Dark Armed out, you tend to win the game if he goes off unscathed, because you just create so much card advantage in a mill-based deck. Because you'll set your grave up to exactly 3, and then you'll progress the rest of your plays, and you can end up with 6 darks in the grave, and there's just no way they're going to come back because you're going to kill their whole field. And Red Eyes Darkness Metal, obviously, for the soft block of these two.
Itself being negated.
I think everyone knows that play by now. Obviously, when Pulsar dies, as long as it doesn't miss timing, pulls back a Dark Dragon level 5 or higher, and you go get Darkness Metal. And then next turn, you just Darkness Metal, pull back Light Pulsar, and you're back in the same spot. So that's good, I guess. We'll go on to hand traps. Play 1 Gores, 2 Effect Veiler, and then 1 Battle Fader for me. I've been playing it with 3 Effect Veilers for the most part, and I was opening dead Effect Veilers constantly in the Rabbit matchup. If they start with a Vanilla, and they don't start with Rabbit and Tour Guide, Effect Veiler sucks. It is terrible. And then they'll just go into a Lagia, and then that's worthless, because it's not like you're going to set a Torrential or something, you're going to Effect Veiler and get your Torrential off, because you don't run trap cards. So it never was. You side the third if you prefer it, but for me, I just couldn't justify playing more than 2 Gores, because you have to. And then rather than Trag, I like Battle Fader, because you don't take any damage. Especially good in the mirror match where it's an OTK fest. Battle Fader allows you to play somewhat conservatively at times if you're not going to be able to live a turn and see some more cards, potentially set your graveyard up a little bit better to push back against your opponents. And then Card Trooper's there. He's a staple. He's not really needs to be explained. He replaces himself in the hand, mills 3, does things, gets rid of Steel Sworn Roach, Thunder King Ryo, etc. Spells. You have one search card and Charged Light Brigade. Also happens to send cards to the graveyard, which is good. Soul Recharge and Allure of Darkness are your draw power. Even with 6 Lightsworn, it's still worth playing 3 Soul Recharge, because if you resolve a first turn Soul Recharge if you open Soul Recharge and Lightsworn monster, you tend to win. It's that explosive off turn 1. Resetting your hand like that and like drawing 2 and then milling 2. If you draw a Chaos monster, you probably, if you send a light, all you do is mill 1 dark, or have a way to send a dark, and you're in really, really good shape. So revolving the Soul Recharge turn 1 tends to win you the game, and because of that, you have to run 3. Allure of Darkness. It sucks to banish dark monsters. I try and banish Sanguine whenever I have it, because you can pull it back with the Tour Guide and Leviair play. It's unfortunately a necessary evil for the draw power to try and get into cards like Future Fusion on first turn, but it's you don't always like banishing your dark monsters, but sometimes it's okay. And Future Fusion is self-explanatory. Unfortunately, if you draw late game, it kind of sucks if you don't have 5 dragons left in the deck. Happens more often than you'd like it to. And then the MST is not necessarily like the most it's not necessarily like the most played card, but I like it. Just gets rid of 1 card. It's against every deck right now except for this deck. In a mirror match, MST kind of sucks, but it really helps, especially since they don't expect you to be playing it at all. A lot of people opt for Lance, but if someone's main decking a Macrocosmos, that's a really good way to get rid of it. Is MST or a MST is a really good way to get rid of it, or like a skill drain against like a Dark World deck, or even the field spell. Just sometimes you need MST, like against skill drain. You just need it, and that's why it's there.
All right, moving on to the extra deck.
5-headed dragons because you have to. Not really a lot to explain there. As far as synchros go, Strap Dragon and Black Rose Dragon tend to be pretty mandatory in this deck. It's tough to it's tough to justify not running those 2 just because they're dragons and they have ridiculously awesome effects and they're really easy to make. This one's Chaos Source for an Effect Veiler. This is Gores or Dark Armed and Effect Veiler. The Wyvern is explosive. If you catch your opponent and they Solemn Judgment early, and you happen to be able to if they Solemn Judgment early and you have a way to normal summon or get an Effect Veiler and a Light Pulsar on the field, you swing for 61 if you're at 8,000 and you win immediately, and that's good. So that's why it's there. If your opponent Solemns early or pays a lot of life points, maybe warnings, you can just summon that and another monster, and you automatically win. It's an easy way to win and make your opponent pay real quickly, and that's why it's there. Exceeds, you run 5 targets for the Tour Guide Sanguine Engine. Zen Means is obvious, just because, early game, if you don't have a whole lot else going, you can at least set that up there and buy some time. Leviair pulls back and remove from play monsters. You tend to like to remove from play cards like Lila and Sanguine, and things you can pull back with Leviair whenever you get that card going when you are banishing for your Chaos monsters. Because, if you can pull back a Lila and hit another spell card, that's pretty good. Giga Brilliance is a light monster. That's the only reason you use it. He's not that good. But if you have say 2 Chaos monsters in hand and Tour Guide Sanguine, you go Tour Guide Sanguine and then hit Giga Brilliant, and when they kill it, you'll get to summon one of your Chaos monsters. So that's good. Leviathan Dragon is there for if you summon Leviathan Dragon and you happen to have the Darkness Metal in hand, you can banish the Leviathan, summon the Red Eyes Darkness Metal from hand, and then hit the Light Pulsar and get that engine going. So Leviathan Dragon's there for that purpose, and then Acid Golem is there for Skill Drain. Skill Drain's annoying. It's really tough to beat with this deck, and that's why you play Acid Golem. It's really important, especially against heroes when they play that Skill Drain in game 1, and you need a way to get past it. Acid Golem tends to be a good way, so that's why he's there. The rest of the Exceeds, Photon Pat, whatever his name is, Butterfly. If there's a pesky Spirit Reaper or Galanduo or Arcana Force the Fool or your favorite can't be destroyed by battle card, turns to attack position and dies pretty much, or it loses 600 attack. And if Spirit Reaper die automatically, if it's Galanduo, it's going to die from the damage, and if it's Arcana Force the Fool, they're just going to take a crap ton because it doesn't die and they can't switch it back, so they're going to get killed. Queen Dragon Djinn is there. If you ever get it, it'd be nice to get a free Light Pulsar. I've used it a couple of times. Of every monster in the extra deck, it's the one I'm probably the most wishy-washy on. Not necessary, but it's nice when you hit it. The Exbeetle combo, if you haven't seen it, is insane. If you pull the Inzektor Beetle combo off, you probably win. You need 2 Pulsars live at least, if not 3. and Darkness Metal in the grave. And you can use a Chaos Sorcerer as well. But Chaos Sorcerer, Light Pulsar, with a Light Pulsar and the Red Eyes Darkness Metal in the grave, you hit the Exobeetle, use the Exobeetle's effect, equip Light Pulsar, then use the Exobeetle's effect to send you send a card from each side of the field to the grave. You send the Pulsar that's equipped, and it goes and pulls back a Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. That Darkness Metal Dragon pulls back the Pulsar that got sent, and you plus everywhere. And then you can overlay the Gaia Charger on top, and you have a huge beat stick on the field in addition to everything else you have going. The Hieratic Dragon of Adem. If you have kind of a slow, dead hand, you can overlay 2 Light Pulsars, and you can detach one to summon a Darkness Metal from the deck, and then use Darkness Metal to pull back a Light Pulsar and kind of try and get that engine back going. And then Photon Strike Bouncer is necessary evil. He's not that good, but it gets Injector Bugs and things like that. You need him. He acts as more and more effect failures. That's why you only really need to play 2. If you focus on the Chaos monsters, you tend to be able to make a Strike Bouncer. And if you can Protect a Strike Bouncer, you're in good shape. And he acts as effect failure twice, and they pay 1,000 for you negating their effects. So that's good. Gaia Charger, you overlay rank 6s whenever you need a bigger monster. If I played Mind Control, you could technically take one of their smaller Xyz. You could take one of their Xyz and overlay it, but for here, the main play is going to be after you summon Exobeetle, you'd overlay Gaia Charger so you have a big monster on top afterward. And then I'm not going to show you the whole side deck, but a couple of cards I think you should be siding regardless. Go down here. You should be siding to Electric Virus for the mirror match, because if they put a lot of monsters on the field turn 1, and say game 2 with a Future Fusion, you can just take their stuff and OTK them right back, and you don't have to worry about Gores. They put a Future Fusion up, so you're in good shape. However many copies of MST you're maining, you should be siding you should side whatever the remaining number is. If you're maining 1, side 2. If you're maining 0, side 3. Etc. You need it because every card they're going to side in against you is going to be Bottomless Trap Hole, Dimensional Prison, Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos. It's going to be Spells and Traps. Get rid of them with MST if necessary. And then the last 2 are going to be Royal Decrees. Same reason as MST, except for it's more permanent. If you bring it in, I tend to like to take out Gores because you want that up, and if that's up, then Gores is not going to be alive. But you need it. You need it to turn off all the hate, and there's going to be a lot of it whenever you're playing this deck. People are expecting it, and they know how to play against it now, so Royal Decree is good, it does a lot of work, and otherwise that is about it. There's a couple of staples we didn't include because they're staples and they're not important.
Okay. If you have any questions about the deck or how it runs, please leave it in the section below. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Also, this is a heads up for all the people watching out there. Team Misplay is trying to actually do event coverage for the next regionals coming up in Houston, Texas. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be working it off our blog. We'll have links to our blog, Twitter, and Facebook in the description below, so check that out. And, our question for this video is, what do you want to see most from event coverage at the regional? So this has been Justin with Michael from the Team Misplay. And remember, it's not a pro play unless it's a misplay.